Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, October 19th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Sounds like we got, doesn't sound like. We do have breaking news of Forte being retired. That seems what everybody wants to talk about in the chat. So I guess we start with that, right?
I mean, shocking news developing here on Blink. It seems like we always have, although we're not like either one of us is shocked, but it always feels like we have some sort of news coming out. It's always around Kentucky Derby or whenever it's Preakness with First Mission, and it's like we always have I feel like a breaking story that comes out right before we hop on air, which makes everything a little more eventful for Blinkers Off. But yeah, Forte being retired. I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily expect him to be retired. I thought there's no way we see him back this year, but I guess they just said, he's done.
It's always interesting to me, like what is said in the media versus what is actually happening at the barns,
Yeah.
I told you right before, and I'll just be honest with people today, like, because it's just insanity. Like if you read like the DRF or wherever, it's like, oh, he's doing great. I think he's over all his problems, and then we're lucky enough, we've got a big like web of people that we know, and like talk to people at the barn, it's like, yeah, he can't do anything. Like there's no way, And the bizarre thing about it is like you get that report on a horse and then he goes and wins a grade 1 like 3 days later, and then you get that report on a horse and he retires. So you have to take everything you hear with a grain of salt. But I mean, I just feel, I don't know. I don't know why they feel like they have to lie to the media about it. Because it's like, why are we hiding an injury in horse racing? I know why you hide injuries in other sports, because it's competitive. You're going up against other people and you don't want, somebody to maybe target that injury. But this is, I don't know. I've never understood that at all.
Yeah. The thing that bugs me the most about it, it's not just Pletcher, but it is Pletcher a lot, is that like, it's when, we hear something directly from like someone's like in the barn and we hear something like this horse can barely walk and this horse is hurt, and then you flash to Pletcher and it's like, oh yeah, we went to the track, everything's great, can't wait and it's like, and then an hour later he scratches, or an hour later he's retired, and it's just, I don't understand why. I don't understand who it's serving in Pletcher's case to be like everything's sunshine and rainbows over here. I don't understand why we do that.
I know I don't get it either. Like I said, like who is it benefiting? Who are we protecting? If they ask you about a horse that's not doing very well, and you don't want to, I get that you don't want to put in print, oh, he's not doing well, and this sumbitch is crippled. Like I get that. Don't say that, but just say, oh, we're trying to regroup with him, and we'll kind of see. But no, it's oh my goodness, like he's tearing down the barn. I think we got all these problems taken care of. 2 days later, it's like, well, he was just we had to get rid of him. We had to retire him. It's really just a weird situation. I'm equally confused about two things, Jared, and maybe you try to, that one, what you just brought up is crazy, right? That it happens.
Yeah.
And confusing. Explain this one to me. Okay. You hear for like weeks, it's like this horse can't go. They're just working him, and it's all they can do to get him to work out. He can't go. There's no way. And then you hear and you read, it's like they say they're going to enter a horse somewhere. And so you say, hey, look, they're going to enter this horse. There's no way. He'll never pass the vet. He'll never enter. He enters, and they're like, I can't believe it. Hopefully he just makes it around there. It's going to be bad. And then he airs and wins a grade 1. How do you go from that to that as well? Two mysteries that I will never understand.
I don't know, because it's like, it's not like I to be clear, I fully trust the resources that I have and you have, when you hear those kind of things, they're not just making that up to
No.
say like, oh, this
Nope.
is like stir shit up. Like, no, it's real.
Yep.
So how do you go from that
I don't know.
to winning the grade 1? Unless, well, I know how, or at least the only way you would think that's possible, right?
Right.
Is the horse can't even feel where he's at,
Right.
but I guess that's it, right? I don't know. Like, and it's one thing if it's like out there winning, he he's in like coming off of a long break and it's an allowance race and the horse just barely gets to the wire and you're like,
Right.
he won, but good Lord. But when you look as good as you looked, as that horse looked, you're like, how?
And if you don't laugh, you cry. That's kind of where I'm at right now. This is not something to laugh about, but you just shake your head like, because you're right. It's like, people, we don't just, hey, we met a guy yesterday and now we're listening to everything he said. These are guys we've known for years. We go way back with, have vetted out, have given great information. They know what's going on. They're not lying. And then you hear a report on a horse like that and they retire 9 times out of 10. And then you hear that one every now and then. You get that report and like, oh, that's too bad. And then they win grade 1. So it's interesting. It's very interesting how you can go from one to another. We'll see if that string continues for the certain horse we're talking about. But yeah, as far as Forte goes, it is unfortunate. He ran one bad race out of 10. His whole career was 10 races, and unfortunately, it was the last one. We didn't get to see him at his best in the last race, but where those other 9 were really good, and he was a nice horse that. I think once he got to that point where he was going to run in the Kentucky Derby, that's when the problems started to arise and the injuries, and I don't think he ever really got over them.
Yeah, clearly. And, I don't know, like they took some time off for sure, but clearly there was, I don't know that, like you said, I think he never really got over it. And so they kind of they got him back and it kind of never went away. And then you try to get into the Kentucky Derby and then obviously didn't go, they were bad because he didn't run. And then you get into the Belmont where he looked like he didn't want to be there, but he ran well because he was, he's a good horse. Like, I don't want to like shit on him. Really good horse, but it's just it's unfortunate because that was a good horse that probably should have had a better 3-year-old year than he did.
I wonder if you put truth serum into Pletcher, which is the only way you'd get the truth. But if you did, if he would tell you, yeah, the Belmont screwed him. Because why I say that is he said immediately, we're going to monitor this thing. If he's not well enough to run in the Preakness, which he wasn't, then we are waiting to Saratoga. And then all of a sudden, once he couldn't run in the Preakness, you hear, oh, he's going to run in the Belmont, which who was behind that. It wasn't Todd Pletcher. It was the owners, right? So the owner wants to run at the Belmont. He got him as good as he could for that race, but we know the long-term effects, right? If you push a horse to do something that he's not really ready to do, he or she, they may go out and run well that day. And I think Forte did, for the most part, but the long-term problems that causes will come up, right? And you wonder if that may have been kind of the beginning of the end for him.
And that makes me want, that just is like the question you have about some of these horses that you're like, we talked about a second ago, with like, how did that horse, you hear all these things and then this horse wins a grade 1. Will that take him back? Did it ruin the Breeders' Cup chances, by doing that? I have no idea. Maybe you should have just trained up to the Breeders' Cup and had him run like that.
I feel
or
like
maybe he wins the Breeders' Cup. I don't know.
I feel like if you go back and listen to last week's show, you're talking about duds and up to the mark. And I think that was kind of what you were thinking. And I was like, look, we got to just judge him by what we see on the track. But yeah, I mean, eventually, I don't know.
I'll tell you what, and I've been working on the 14 trends. I'm done with the 14 trends. They should be out here in the next couple days. And that's one that I almost talked myself into with up to the mark. And now I'm like really battling my demons here as far as like, do I trust the trends of it? Do I trust, the eye test? And that's what's it. Like, I don't want to like keep harping on it, but that's what makes this game an already impossible game that much more impossible.
Correct.
Because you have people like us who are in the know and we know people, and you kind of get that. And you kind of like, well, I'm gonna, like, obviously, right? If a guy, if in the before a playoff game, they say, well, this guy, he can barely throw, his arm's killing him. Like, you need to, like, yeah, you're going to use that information. Whereas on the flip side, someone that knew nothing about up to the mark, they knew nothing other than who he was, you know what I mean? And listen to Pletcher, and like, all the systems go, everything great. Horse wins. Oh, great. Never knew, you didn't need to know anything else, right?
No.
And then there's other times where it works greatly in your favor. Well, that, you know what I mean? So it's just, I guess the bottom line is they're a freaking horse, and maybe they do what they want to do on some days and they don't others. I don't know.
I think what I've learned over the years, when you hear that kind of information, if that horse enters the race, you better just take him for his face value and nothing else that you've heard.
Yeah.
If he's entered, he's well enough to run somehow, some way. But yeah, you're right. If a guy's sitting over here with a broken arm on Thursday, he's not throwing passes on Saturday. But that's not how racing is. So and I'll leave it at that.
Well, listen, I made a pact with myself, and I'm gonna let you kind of hold me accountable to this. But I'm like, as soon as I honestly didn't know for sure if I really thought it might be a dead heat between up to the mark and Master. But as soon as it came out and he lost, because I had everything going through Master of the Seas, I was like, I'm never taking any information that I hear backside information and using it to my advantage, so to speak. Yeah. And so I made a promise to myself. I'm going to use it at face value. And, unless I literally see the horse, limping on like 1.5 legs, I'm not going to make any, I'm going to use what I see in the form and what I've seen on the racetrack.
Okay.
So you gotta hold me to that.
Okay.
You told me that after the race too.
You were mad, and I said, dude, you know better than to do that.
To be fair, I never would have not bet that horse, but it only made me press my opinion harder. Let's put it that way. But yeah, we got a lot going. All the comments are popping off about Breeders' Cup, so we might as well get into the show. By the way, I would say something I would not suggest to people. Okay. So I sold and bought a house in the last week.
Yeah. And
so I'm like, that's why this show got pushed back. Cause I was like literally on the phone call with like mortgage lenders or mortgage lender. And it's just like, could you pick a worse time, you idiot, to sell a house and buy a house when literally I'm gonna be packing shit up, leave for the Breeders' Cup. Oh, by the way, I go to Denver next week. Right. For the Chiefs game. And then the next week we go to the Breeders' Cup. And then the next 2 weeks after that, I moved to a new house. So
it's not, it could be worse because you could be moving like the week you get home. That would be really bad from the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah. Well, the buyer wanted to close November 1st, and I said absolutely not.
No, that would have been the worst. Yeah.
I said, not happening, dude. It ain't like no matter. I don't care if you offer me $100,000 more. Well, maybe that, but very little things you could do to make me do November 1st. So, but yeah, lots going on over here. But we're gonna talk Breeders' Cup because that's kind of a big thing right now, right? We got the pre-entries coming out. I saved an email. I wanted to mention this on the show. Pre-entries are announced Wednesday, October 25th. So that's when the pre-entries are going to come out next week. That's when we start to see the, this horse is entered here. He's also entered here, but first priority is in this race. So we'll start really honing in on those fields. And then, of course, the post-position draw is Monday, October 30th, the week of the Breeders' Cup. And then, that's really when all systems are go on Monday from that day on. But, I think you start to see October. I know when we get the pre-entries every year, it's like you start to feel like, okay, I know this whole, because there's a lot of those, especially the internationals, where you don't know exactly which race they're going to aim for yet. And there's still like Maj, for one, is, we don't know what race that she's going to be in spiral. We don't know for sure which race they're going to go to. we just learned that Saudi Crown is going to go to the Classic. So there's just things that you can't. It's like we have people emailing us. When's the Bible come out? It's like we don't even know what the fields are yet. So it's like you gotta. It's and then of course, boom, it all happens at once.
Yep. By this time next week, it's gonna feel real, because we're gonna know who's running basically. Because when those pre-entries come out, you got a real good idea. So, because you got to have first preference, second preference, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's gonna be awesome when those come out. This time next week, like I said, we're gonna be. Well, I mean, I'll probably have the Bible done this time next week.
Yeah, I mean,
Just got to write in the numbers.
Is that, by the way, I did just get an email from our designer with, I believe, the trends. So I'm going to take a look at that, and hopefully that will be available later today. So that's a good time to, by the way, Shadi says Maj is going to the mile. I hadn't heard that for sure, but I kind of assumed that just because that to me feels like where she's going to be the best. I know it's against the boys, but I don't know that I think that distance is going to be more just based off what we saw the other day or last weekend. So I like that move if that's where they're going. It makes that race even more interesting. But the day does make a good time to say, if you haven't got it, go to the Racing Dudes website, racingdudes.com, and make sure you get your hands on the betting Bible, which is available right now for pre-sale, but soon to be also included. Will that be that 14 trends to the wager or to the Breeders' Cup, where you get one trend for every race, and I dive into every race and kind of give an idea of what we've seen in the past. Maybe speed wins these races, maybe internationals have won it 12 or 15 years, whatever. I love doing it because it gets me kind of into the headspace of where I want to handy. You know what I mean? Like it kind of starts the ball rolling for me mentally, to where I'm like, all right, now okay, this is where it's kind of aiming. Now I can dive into the handicapping. So that's going to be available soon at racingdudes.com. And again, you get these for free if you are a premium subscriber. So make sure you go to racingdudes.com to learn more. But now's the time to talk Breeders' Cup and futures. We got futures odds out that we're going to take a look at and analyze. See kind of the fields are taking shape, but an idea as we are a few weeks out of who's not only who's in the races, but what are the odds looking like? Maybe gives us an indication of what we might expect when the races draw and get closer. You know what, Halterman? I think it's time.
Let's do it.
Let's go. All right, let me pull up is it Bovada? Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
I'll pull them up on the screen. We'll just kind of go. I think there's like 10 races out of the 14 that are on there.
They've got 13 of them up now. They've added.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I haven't even seen those, so we'll go through them together.
Yeah.
Did you have a something you were rooting home earlier?
No.
Oh, I thought I saw you like getting excited about something, or non-excited.
No.
Maybe you're just rooting for me to stop talking. I don't know.
Well, I was saying I had you mean while we were on the air?
Yeah, like while we were talking, I thought I saw you. I was talking like do like one of these, like you're like do a little lean or something,
No.
I was like, all right, hit me with it. Was it good or bad?
No, I thought maybe like before we got on air, you may have saw me. I was rooting for my one of my best bets, but no, nothing since we've been on air.
How'd you do?
We won. Yeah, it was good. The 4 in the ninth at Belmont won.
There you go.
So, yeah.
All right, yeah. So let's just take this to again, like these are way early. These are offshore Bovada. But they are futures that are available. And of course, where we live, you can't get futures, it makes zero sense. But here are the futures on Bovada and kind of give you an idea of what's in the field. And kind of I think the bigger thing for me is like, who are what races can you expect these favorites to be pounded in, I think this is a good indication of a few of them, I think. So
this is going to be interesting. Let's do this.
Yeah, Halterman's been excited about this since he.
Yeah, this is the first time that I've really started to put together a outline of what I'm going to do.
What race is missing?
Great question. Let's see, juvenile. All the juvenile races are there.
The turf sprint.
I don't think the filly and mare sprint is on here. I think that's what's missing.
Nope, it's not.
Yeah. That could be because they really don't have a clue who's going to be in it.
That's a tough one. I mean, I guess Good Night Olive, I guess. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Obviously, she's probably going to be probably will be the favorite. But
when I went through it, I'm like, I don't know. These horses in here, it's like you don't even know who's going to show up because we don't have any. That's a weird division in itself, year round. And then on top of that, you don't have a lot of like stars in that division right now. So it definitely makes it tough to have any indication, which I guess is why you can't offer bets for it.
Yep.
All right, we are 2 weeks out to the 40th Breeders' Cup World Championships. Again, pre-entries will be out next week. Of course, we'll get the entries the following week. So now we're going to take a look at futures odds available here on Bovada. Just go to bovada.lv and you can search this up and find the current prices as we go along. But we have 13 of the 14 races available on here. We're only missing filly and mare sprint, but we're going to go through here, Halterman, and some of these fields are bigger than others, but we can get an idea not only who's going to at least who they have available to bet, but what the odds look like for each of these races. And just, more than anything, I think it can give you a little bit of an indication. Obviously, you can bet these much more freely overseas as well. So it kind of gives you an idea maybe how those are being bet. It maybe gives us an idea, an early look of how you might want to bet, or maybe horses that you guys have been itching to bet again. And if you're seeing a horse at, say 1,200 over here plus 1,200, you're like, oh shit, like that's great. Hopefully I get anywhere near that in the Breeders' Cup. So let's take a first look here. We're going to do juveniles. And the first one here on the screen, Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, and Opera Singer is a big favorite here. We got two big favorites to talk about back-to-back races on here. Opera Singer, Aiden O'Brien horse, plus 175. So heavy favorite.
All right, let's just kick it off, right? Now, all my opinions I'm going to go through, they're very much just straight, like not a ton of in-depth research yet. This is just like surface level stuff. Definitely don't have to research a ton. A ton of these horses. But I'm going to get into it right now. I think my best bet of the day on Friday might end up being Opera Singer. I think this horse is the goods, going to come over for O'Brien. I think if she shows up with a big race, I think she's way better than anything we've got over here in this division. I really like Opera Singer. I'm not going to play many favorites in these 2 days. This is one I'll probably play, though. I think Opera Singer is the one to beat.
Yeah, I didn't know for sure that she would just show up here, but whenever I saw that these and kind of thought that's where it's lining up, I feel like this is going to be one of the, there's another one here in the next one maybe, but that I feel pretty confident in betting a lower price. And not just that, it's just who, like you see the list there. Carla's Way plus 500, Fallen Angel 5-1. She feels pretty 8-1. I mean, where are you going? And there's not a lot of ones that you're going to be excited about to bet here.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm at. I don't like this division for the Americans. Now, what other Europeans come over and you go, okay, that's interesting. Maybe we'll go there. I remember that happened last year with the male version of this race. Appleby had a horse coming over that I had circled, and then O'Brien brought one. It's like, okay, that makes you pause. Here, it looks like Opera Singer to me is going to be really, really tough. I'm actually really excited to see her. Like I said, I mean, we don't have anything other than just the chances that these horses might come right now. I think if she comes, I think she's going to be awfully tough. I kind of feel like Opera Singer, like I felt like when Modern Games came over as a 2-year-old, kind of just felt like if you come over for this race, you're going to win it.
By the way, just I see a few comments. So what happened, Kevin, was originally it was scheduled at 4 p.m. I was on a phone call. I had to push it to 4:30, and it was approaching 4:30, and I was like still on the phone call. I thought I better move this to 5. And literally right after that, it ended. And I'm like, we'll just start it now, the original time. And so this is for the loyal fans that are on here already. Kevin, apparently you're not. That's something you get penalized for that. But by the way, you've only missed sort of the Juvenile Fillies Turf, so not a lot. one horse Halterman that is not on here and I know that doesn't really mean much was the Chad Brown horse. Hard to Justify. That's a filly. This is a race that Americans have done really well in the Breeders' Cup over the years, and so that was one I was kind of looking at, as far as being that American. And I don't know if that. I thought she was. I assumed she would be in the race. It was she won a win and you're in for it. So, I kind of thought, being Chad Brown, especially, we'd see her in here.
She might. I mean, just because they're not in this doesn't mean shit. I mean, this is some guy overseas that probably doesn't know anything. He might be reading off our website and putting these horses on there. Like you don't know where this is coming. This is crazy unofficial, but this is the best thing we've got on it right now. So,
yeah, it's I don't know. Opera Singer to me to me, I look at this and say, well, if you take nothing else from it, say, well, that's the international horse that I need to focus on in this race, and then we'll see who else enters, obviously.
Yep.
And I think to me, like a lot of times with these offshore type stuff in the overseas markets, it gives you a good indication, right, of those international horses. So like we know that they are really betting Opera Singer, plus 175. That's a solid number. And so to me, that gives you a good indication of kind of the group of horses, which one you want to look at. All right, let's go to the juvenile fillies. Tamara is a plus 135, heavy favorite once again. Candy 500 or 5-1. Vivi's Dream 7-1. Just FYI 8-1. Really the list goes on, but is this going to be another one of those favorites? Obviously being out west helps as well. She looks so good, and she might be elite. But I just think it's another one of those divisions that I do think we have some good horses in there, but I just think she might be better than the rest of them.
Yeah, I haven't decided what to do with this one. I really like just FYI a little bit. I really like Candied a little bit as well. So there's a couple of horses I like that I think can beat her. We haven't seen her since Del Mar. I don't know if that's good or bad either. So to be honest, this is one I haven't decided whether I'm going to take the favorite or not. I may try to take a little just FYI. I think that horse is interesting at a price. I think she'll run pretty darn well.
The thing is, like on debut, she wasn't awesome, right? And then the next race, she was freaking spectacular. And so you just kind of wonder. But Mandela, man, when he gets them right, they're tough to beat.
I didn't like skipping the prep. I thought that was odd.
Yep.
So that has me a little bit concerned. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the horse wins, but and I may end up picking her when all said and done. But as of right now, I'm kind of all over the place with this one. And I think 8-1, if you get plus 800, if you're going to bet it right now, or you get 8-1 on the day of, I don't know. I just think just FYI might be interesting here.
And I will say this: if you're not super convinced, or of Tamara, and you're like not completely sold, or definitely, this is the kind of race. This is the race over the years that it's very much okay to bet against the favorite. You have seen some good ones win it, no doubt. And if you think she is that kind of caliber, then I mean, there's no reason to think she won't win it. But when you're looking at 8-1, just FYI, and there's a ton of other options in this race that I think that you could talk me into. Vivi's Dream is not one of them, by the way. I think I was on. She kind of I was on her until she bucked me off, and she bucked me off last time. I just didn't love the way I didn't think she ran terrible. I just didn't see enough from her to be convinced that she can turn that back around, go out west, win the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was pretty much like she's not bad, but I don't think she's gonna win the Breeders' Cup type effort. I agree, and really wasn't all that competitive with Candied, so hard to bet her. And I don't know. I just worry. The source of Mandela has never been around 2 turns. I think that is a little bit iffy as well. So I don't know if you want to take her at a very short price. I think you got to think because she's going to be like 8-5, 7-5, probably. If you're going to take her, you better think that she's like the next star, right? Because to take that kind of price in a juvenile horse here at the Breeders' Cup, you better think she's a star. She looked like one. Like her last race was spectacular. I don't know how good that field was, and it was at one turn. So I think there's question marks.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't made my mind up on that one either. That one feels like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, she could win for sure, and she probably should win. But I also could see myself being like, "You idiot! Why did you single everything around her?" So we'll see. I tend to not bet as heavy as I do on Saturday that I do on Friday, just because of their juveniles, right? And they're a little bit more unpredictable. The juvenile turf sprint, Big Evs at plus 500, 5-1, 5-1 on Crimson Advocate. 550 on Bucano Forte, None Mets, anyone else. Okay, Crimson Advocate for me is one that I've been very much looking at as I've been kind of getting closer and closer to honing in on these races. I mean, I'm not surprised on the prize. I think it's another one of those years that we've seen these turf sprints be dominated by Americans. And so I tend to still lean that way. It is a fairly new race in the Breeders' Cup, so it's still kind of up for grabs, I would say, too.
I really have no idea. Here's the deal. Like, they've got a few listed here. It looks like 8 horses listed. Usually there's like 14, I mean, this is usually a mess. And it's either, most years it's okay, I'm just going to go with the Leslie Ward horse, or I'm just going to go big price, one or the other. I mean, I don't know. I did pretty well at this race the first 3 years, and then it's been pretty tough. So I can't really give you a gauge. I don't, and this is a race where a lot of horses don't really point for it. They just kind of fall into this spot. We probably aren't going to know until the next show about who's actually going to be here. So it's hard for me to kind of get a gauge on this one yet.
I think Crimson Advocate is interesting just from a standpoint of, she is an American horse, but she did go over to win at Royal Ascot. I think that's super interesting as well. So you kind of have a little bit of both. But I feel like what was that Pletcher horse that you hit this 1 year at like 5-1? Was it the first year they ran it?
Yep, it was. No, maybe it's the second. No, I think it was the first, and I cannot remember that horse's name for the life of me.
No, I can't either. But I just remember you did like that horse quite a bit and bet it. But now it's like I don't feel the same way this year.
I loved Golden Pal. I loved the horse the year before by American Pharaoh that won it. Can't think of that horse's name either. And then the Pletcher horse was pretty good too. But I loved those two, the Pharaoh horse and then obviously Golden Pal. We love those. But
let's it's gonna bother me now. Who was it? It was. I feel like I see the name in my head. Bulletin. Bulletin was that was the first year. 4-wheel drive was the next year. I think we both really liked that one. Golden Pal, Twilight Gleaming, and Mischief Magic. What kind of Mischief Magic bucked the trend last year was in terms of what we had seen in this race is speed, gate to wire, just speed, gate to wire, speed, gate to wire, American speed, gate to wire, I should say. Yeah. And last year it just fell apart completely. And we saw an international horse, basically come from last to win it. So
last year there were a lot of horses in that race that shouldn't have been in that race, and they all had speed.
Yeah, and so it created this epic. And then you had, it was just a disaster. You had just a bunch of shit in there. Yeah. But it was the award, by the way. Yeah, won that race 3 years in a row with 4-wheel drive. That was the American Pharaoh horse as well that you were talking about.
Yep.
4-wheel drive was the award, Golden Pal, and then Twilight Gleaming. So he won it 3 years in a row. And then Pletcher won that year with Bulletin.
I would venture to say this year, this may be a skip for me. This may be a $5 wager or something like that. Some years, like you see that 4-wheel drive horse show up in your past performances, you go, oh yeah, I kind of like this horse, and you get excited, Golden Pal. But like this year, it's like I've watched all these races and I don't see anybody.
Yeah, I'm worried that 5-1 is not going to last on Crimson Advocate. If I can get anywhere near that, I'll probably bet that one for as of now. But yeah, I'm not gonna, you know, especially I'm not gonna waste. I think it's the first race of the Breeders' Cup that on Friday, so I'm not gonna go too heavy on it. All right, let's go to the main event of that day, and that is the Juvenile. Prince of Monaco at 4-1, 5-1 on lock. Timberlake at 5.5-1. Muth at 7-1. Heartlands 10-1. I mean, fierceness. I mean, the Telefella is not going to run in. I learned that from the comments of my video I did on YouTube. Everyone told me he's not going to run for the rest of the year. But really, it comes down to the kind of the top. I'm surprised to see Muth at 7-1 off of that effort in the American Pharoah. Not really surprised on the rest of them. I thought Muth would be a little bit lower. I didn't. I honestly wasn't for sure if Muth or Prince of Monaco would go off as a favorite.
I don't really know what's going to happen in this one. This is an awfully interesting situation. I don't think there's a lot of horses that are really standouts here. I kind of like Muth a little bit over Prince of Monaco, even though, well, he killed him the one time they ran. I kind of like Muth. Can I tell you something crazy?
I love it.
I kind of like Miramati.
You hinted at that a little bit after that race.
I kind of think when they stretch him out to 2 turns, he's going to be decent. Now, this probably isn't the spot. Maybe he doesn't even run here. I kind of like him a little bit. To me, I will probably not play the favorite. I probably just won't. I liked Timberlake's race last time out. Like I said, I like Muth a lot as well. So I don't know. This is another one. I'm not really locked in on anybody here.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if how good are these. The thing with Muth, he did I know we've talked a little bit about this, but he did everything he was supposed to be doing, and he kind of put it all together in that last race. I feel like Muth was supposed to be, he's obviously huge purchase price, and they had you buy a horse like that to win this race and to win the Kentucky Derby and all the races, right? And so the issue was very clearly stated, he too keen, goes too fast, fades, and we saw that when he got beat by Prince of Monaco that day. Last time out, the American Pharoah went. Not only did he stretch out, but he set off the pace. I get maybe that's not the caliber of field, right? But just the fact that he had that ability to do so, it gives me a lot of confidence in what he might be able to do in this race. Maybe he's starting to figure it out, but I mean, I would rather play him over Locked and Timberlake, and that's not really saying that I don't like either one of those, but I just think the value at 7-1 is there.
I think this is kind of a squirrely race. I really think every horse that you're going to talk about kind of has their, not really issues, but just kind of has their hangups a little bit. We haven't seen a ton of consistency except for Prince of Monaco. But again, he skips the big one, or the big prep year, or the big prep round of preps, the last one. He's never been 2 turns. I didn't love his 1-turn race, or his last 1-turn race in the Futurity. I don't know. I just don't think he is. I think he's a favorite that's beatable, I guess is what I should say. I'm with you. I really liked how Muth calmed down. And I think maybe that stretch out was the thing that did it. A lot of times those 6 and 7 furlong races, when you're 2 years old, everybody's just flying to the front as fast as they can and trying to hold on. And some of these horses, that's not really what they want to do. And he may have been one of them,
Yeah. By the way, Christopher, I guarantee you we will talk Husker Butch, but it will be later in the show. So just make sure you go take the kids to dinner, come back, listen to the pod version, or listen to the go back and watch us on the YouTube channel, and we will talk about Husker Butch. I guarantee it. Yep. So I know you'll get your fix. Just you have to wait. You got to do dad stuff. I get it. I don't know, Michael. I don't know that. I don't see why they're not going to revert him back to speed just because there's other horses in the race that of the stable. I mean, if he's got the talent, they're going to. I would assume going to want him to run what makes him the most suitable to win the race. if Miramati were to enter, like, Halterman, you're suggesting, maybe he's the speed, right? I don't know.
I think Muth like reverting back to speed or whatever. I think it's all just going to depend on who's there, right? And I if you can fall out on the lead by himself, of course you're going to use it. But I don't think you're going to. I guess the point I'm trying to make is we saw he doesn't have to have the lead to run well, so they won't press the lead and go balls to the wall unless they can just go out there and get an easy one.
Yeah. I just thought he looked like a different horse that day, and so that gives me hope going into this. By the way, Shotty, there's a really cool trend you'll want to check out in the 14 trends about kind of what you kind of refer to with the Triple Crown and what it means moving forward. This is a race that's pretty productive, but maybe in a different way. So make sure you check out the trends when that comes available. All right, let's go to the last one on Friday, the Juvenile Turf. This is yeah, you've done well in this race in the past. I don't know where you're going with this one. This is a wide open affair.
I feel like I'm going to end up going with a European horse here. I don't know which one yet. There's not really
a good angle to go to, by the way.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not really anything that jumps off the page. Opera Singer and if she comes to the Philly version of this race, I think she's tough. But here I don't see a lot that just totally jumps off the page. So just kind of a wait and see approach to this one as well. I don't really believe in our turf horses too much in this spot. So it's just kind of it's going to be touch and go until we know who's going to run.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. This is one of those races that we'll talk about. The ones on Saturday are going to be a lot more clear. This is one of those that you just, how can I even have any commentary about this? Because I don't know, who's going to be here out of those. There's a bunch listed, obviously, for good reason. My thought is I'm going to probably lean towards which is not going on a limb, but Aiden and Appleby and whoever has maybe one of the ones that look the most visually and most impressive. That's probably where I'll lean towards. So,
yeah.
But to have any kind of real, I will say that Agate Road, that's one that I'm okay with playing against here, especially. I mean, I guess 12-1 is probably more than fair if that's what you're going to get, but I'm not super interested in that. So
yeah, so sometimes our juvenile turf horses will really impress me, and I'll go with one or the other, in one of the races or both. I just haven't been impressed with either division this year, and that just makes me lean towards the European horses until, like I said, we kind of find out who's actually going where.
All right. By the way, go listen to the show at the beginning and you'll get a lot of insight on the Forte retirement talk. All right. Saturday, Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Caravel, that's the big one, right? 8-1. No Balls at 8-1 as well. Notorious at 10-1. Those are three really interesting horses, obviously for good reason, but Private Creed 16-1. It's really there's a lot obviously of options here, and this for at least on listed here. Living the Dream at 550. Brad Sell at 600. Thoughts as you kind of look at these?
I got no idea in this one. I mean, this is going to be a horribly tough race. Caravel, I don't think is going to be able to do it again. I don't think she ran all that well at Keeneland. You kind of lean, maybe go a local here. Track's a little bit quirky for sure. So you do kind of think, hey, maybe a horse like Gear Jockey can get the job done. I've always kind of liked the Platinum Queen. I think that's a horse that's going to come in here with a chance. I remember the last time we ran this race here at Santa Anita, it seems like a huge price won it. I can't even remember who. It's not Peter Miller won it with somebody. So I don't have much of a thought on this one. This is going to be one you need to stay away from, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I kind of like, I don't know. The one I've been most interested in as I started going through it was which might not surprise you a little bit, but No Balls at 8-1. I think just the speed, man. That race, I mean, that he kind of showed that, and Caravel's super fast, but he shut Caravel out even as far as speed, and it kind of makes you, if this horse can, at Santa Anita on the turf at Santa Anita, get going. Like it might be a hard horse to catch, right? So, but yeah, I honestly, I mean, I don't know the exact field yet, but it's gonna be hard to like be surprised out of this one.
Yeah,
as far as the result goes. So,
Yep.
all right, this one, okay, the Dirt Mile. This is a race that I'm super interested in.
Yeah.
The Dirt Mile is always a fun race, I feel like, every year, but this year no different. Cody's Wish looking to defend after the debacle in the Whitney and deciding to go back to the mile distance where the horse has not lost. Practical Move though at 4-1 plus 175 by the way on Cody's Wish. Algiers is at 8-1. Good Nights 9-1. Blazing Sevens. I mean the list goes on. Fort Bragg at 12-1. Defunded 14-1. Arabian Lion 16-1. Verifying 16-1. Charge at 35-1. I don't think Charge is going to run in that race. But thoughts on this one?
I'm going to try to beat Cody's Wish. I mean, that's just it. I'm going to try to beat him. Practical Move would make a lot of sense in this race. I think Defunded would be interesting if he actually goes in this race. You don't really know who's running, right? Anarchist is a horse I kind of like a little bit as well. I'm going against Cody's Wish. It's going to be with one of those that I kind of list in there most likely.
Now listen, a lot can change, and you got the field has to take shape, and I'll make some decisions obviously when we get closer. But I said this, I tweeted it out right after the race when he made his comeback. I'm gonna have a really hard time not picking Practical Move to win here. I just he's done nothing wrong really, and he loves Santa Anita, and he looked good, and I think the way the race is gonna set up for him. I think he's going to be tough to beat. I think Cody's Wish is going to have his work cut out for him to get to that's why I really wanted to see I guess Saudi Crown just because I wanted to beat Cody's Wish, but maybe Practical Move is my next best, right?
I can see it. I really think Practical Move if he can build off that last race, and I mean, you kind of look at his form before he got hurt or got sick or whatever the hell happened to him. You look at that, you look how he came back and just how damn easy, just kind of toyed with him. You do kind of just sit here and go, you know what? He probably is better than what Cody's Wish has been his last couple of races. Not early in the season, but his last couple, it's like he's probably just better. So if you could get him at a price now, he may run in the Classic, and we're all just like, well, whatever if that happens. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like Cody's Wish is a horse to really like single or anything like that.
You gonna bet your boy Arabian Lion at 16-1?
No, I don't know what Arabian Lion is up to these days, but it's not running well.
Not running is one of them.
I tell you what, Fort Bragg. I see Fort Bragg getting mentioned a few times. I think he's interesting. I thought he ran pretty well. In the last time we saw him in the sprint, San Diego sprint. So, Arabian Lion did not.
I'll say this though, like there was a time this year where I'm like Arabian Lion might be the best Arabian horse of Baffert,
Oh, for sure. But I mean, fuck, you don't know what he's going to do. He's either awful or good. No in between.
Yeah. So I could certainly see him winning this race. Like, don't get me wrong. I probably can't bet him in this race.
No.
Because he's been like some really like wow performances from him, and then there's been some not so wow. Filly and Mare Turf. This is a good one, man. Look at this. Inspiral at plus 200, 2-1. 325 on Warm Heart. Tahara at 8-1. Didia at 11-1. And a set at 12-1. I mean, those in Italian. How about that? In Italian at 14-1. Moira at 14-1. But listen, to me, it comes down to a few in here, and that is Inspiral or Warm Heart, two international horses. I think that are going to be really tough to beat, if they do run in this race.
I think Warm Heart is super, super good, and I also think Inspiral is super good. I don't know where Inspiral is going to go. I've heard the mile as well, so I don't really know, but yet, and I don't really care to speculate, but listen, you hate to be a broken record, but Warm Heart and Inspiral, those two horses, are probably better than anything we have. You know, you look at an Italian, yeah, she's gonna be a great price, but it's like she probably should be. She lost twice where she shouldn't have. Diddy is a horse I like. I thought she ran really well last time out, but I just think, again, you look at the Americans, and if we get these big time European horses, which those two on the top there are, I don't really think we're going to be able to beat them.
This is a very very tough trend to buck in terms of favoring the internationals. So I don't. And then you got two. We talk about it where like with the turf, where it's like, well, you just don't have that like big time turf horse, right? Coming like you'd love to bet against Up to the Mark, but you're just like, I don't know who it is, right? Who you can trust that, because you've seen some of the big. I mean, we've seen some big time turf horses come over here and win. This one feels like whether it be Inspiral, whether it be Warm Heart, who you like in this race, but those two both feel like really nice horses overseas.
I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with the love for Inspiral and for Warm Heart in the chat. I'm with you. This is a situation this year, guys, and we talked about it. When a horse like an Able came over, yeah, that was like nuts, crazy. But this year, it's like any European horse that's decent to good, we're going to get more excited about them because we just don't have the star power in this country this year. So, yeah, I mean, a horse like Inspiral or Warm Heart if they came last year with Flightline still to come, it's like, yeah, we're excited about it, but we're still looking to Flightline. Where this year, seeing a horse like this or horses like this, that's going to highlight the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping I mean, obviously I'll have some, I'll have to lean one way or another, but I'm hoping I can just survive this race with these two because I don't want to get too worked up about this race because I do, as far as like, I don't want to overthink it because I just feel like these two are the ones, to like here. And I love it. Like you're seeing some very strong conviction in the chat one way or another.
It's great.
That's what it's about. And, hopefully we see, that's the thing too. Hopefully you see a battle between these two, and we see a nice race from both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so too. And I think, I think Kevin kind of said it is like, there just doesn't feel like there's any buzz. There's a lot of tickets available for this thing. And I think people that watch our show, and I mean, if you're watching a show about horse racing on YouTube, you're really into it. So I think people watching are really into it. And look what sparked it. It's like finally the filly and mare turf, but it's like these are stars, and that's what you're supposed to see at the Breeders' Cup. And I feel like this isn't a Breeders' Cup that's getting a ton of hype because we don't have the Flightline, we don't have the star, but these European horses coming over can give us that. And people watching our show know these horses and have seen them and have been like, wow, I can't wait to actually see this horse in our country, so that does kind of make it exciting for the people that know about racing.
Oh yeah. And the fact that like you got a John Gosden horse and an Aiden O'Brien horse that, two legends, right? That have these pretty damn good fillies, bringing them over. I mean, there's not much to me. Like that's one of the biggest, one of my favorite moments of any Breeders' Cup we've ever been to is being in the paddock with Enable and the connections and just feeling that buzz of a legit world-class horse. And these two are certainly up on that list of at least what we have running right now overseas. So exciting to see them come over, and hopefully we can see a nice little battle between the two. All right, let's go to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Obviously Echo Zulu is not going to be on here, but plus 600 there. Plus 150 for Elite Power to repeat and win the sprint. Good night at 700, 7-1 on Anarchus, 8-1. Speedboat Beach, 8-1. Speedboat Beach is interesting. Obviously looked really good, even though he lost, but it was off a super long layoff. Then you got like the Dr. Shivel, who's kind of the local horse. Spirit of McKenna, who's just had a lot of tough luck. Can I book CZ Rocket in third? Can I book CZ Rocket for like plus 3,000 for third?
You could, yeah. I'm not going to take it, but Bill Bottom might. I kind of feel like Elite Power is going to get beat.
Why? I just don't know who's going to beat him.
I think Speedboat Beach can beat him.
Now, yeah, I mean, I do think logically could. It's just one of those weird races that we don't see speed hold, and
You're right.
I don't know why. It makes no sense to me. Um, but like you look at I always go back to Chance a lot or Jackie's Warrior, or when Jackie was primed up. I don't know, but I'm with you. Like Speedboat Beach, that last race, I thought even though he lost, I thought he was very impressive, and I immediately was like, "Oh, he's gonna be a problem at the Breeders' Cup, one way or another. Whether it be a problem because I don't know how to bet him, or a problem that he's gonna win the thing." So
I think Gunite is one that's going to be tough. I think Speedboat Beach is going to be tough. Anarchist, if he's in this race, I like him. I like Dr. Shivel. Like I don't know. You watch that race from Elite Power, and we can all sit back and say, well, Gunite, my God, he had it all his way, and this and that. Gunite had it all his way the last time before that when they faced, and Elite Power beat him, right? And even if you go to the Saratoga, okay, now you got an extra furlong. In that race, it maybe, Elite Power gets second, but he's beaten a half length and he makes a huge move. And you go, okay, you just look at that race and it's like, you know what? He might be tailing off a bit because he didn't make not any point in the stretch did you think Elite Power even had a chance to win.
yeah,
And that's not something you could say about him in a long, long time. So I don't know. And now no races since. I just kind of feel like he may not be at his peak.
and a horse that rattled off a bunch of wins in a row,
Yep.
and it really, can he kind of get back to that winner's circle after losing it? I'm not saying you're wrong. If I don't know, I'm with if that trend wasn't so heavily in my mind, I would probably pick Speedboat Beach. My hope is that maybe he doesn't go to the lead, but I think he will.
To that point, because Rodney brings it up, he just hopes Victor doesn't get the mount because that pissed him off. I text you. I was at an OU game when they ran this race.
Yep.
And I text you. And I think Shoddy, I may have texted you this. I can't remember. It's been a while. Been a minute. But I said that's one of the worst rides you'll ever see from anyone ever on Speedboat Beach last time out. I said, and the reason why I was so emphatic about it because it's not a ride where you go, well, he got him stopped or he did this or he did that. But it was worse than that because you had the horse with the most speed in the race. You got out of the gate well. You were in the perfect spot to just go take control of the race and take him gate to wire. And he held the horse with the most speed back.
Yeah. Didn't let him run.
He waited and he waited and he waited too long and the horse still almost won the race. And it's like there's not many times I'll watch a race and blame the entire thing on the jockey. That was one of those times, though.
Yeah, I had him bet to win too, which made it even worse because you're just like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
And Victor the anchor, kind of. But yeah, he will not be on them. You can guarantee he will not be on the mount.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's tough to watch that. But even afterwards, I text you the same thing. I was like, he lost, but damn, that was impressive. Like, all things considered, off that. I mean, it was like 10-month layoff. It was a legit layoff, and to run that good. So, I think he'll be tough. I just again I'm with where is it at? I saw the comment. I don't know where it went though. Michael said, yeah, like I think he's gonna wire him or he's going to or Elite Power will catch him,
Yeah, and I guess final thought on this one, it is going to depend on who actually enters, where they're at, who's riding who. Like I said, Victor's on him again or something like that, where it's like, well, never mind. They just don't think that much of him, obviously. Where they get a good jockey, blah blah blah, then it changes. So it'll just have to depend on who's here as well. But look, I mean, I like I said at the beginning, 2 weeks from now, this thing could totally be different for me, who I'm picking. But as of now, like I'm looking on this on the surface and going, I don't think he's quite as good as he was at his peak, talking about Elite Power. And that's a situation where I think you can go beat him. And you think about it, Jackie's Warrior last year, who Elite Power beat. He came into the race. It's like, yeah, he's just better than everybody else, but he wasn't on his peak form. And you saw it when he got beaten the Forgo, right? Elite Power got beat in the Forgo. He might just not be on his top level.
All right, let's go to the Breeders' Cup Mile here. You got Paddington at plus 225, Songline 500. Tyra is also in here at 500, up to the mark at 500. But I think up to the mark's going to run in the turf. Master of the Seas. Have you heard anything where Master of the Seas is going to run? 700 on him here. Yep. I mean, do you think he's probably going to run in this race, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, after getting beat by Master of the Seas,
yeah,
you got to think Mile is, if you're trying to avoid him, right, as well. Mm-hmm. Maj, by the way, my thing will not move, so you might have to take over the Bovada, but I can't get it to move. I don't know if Bovada's like hijacked my site or my browser, but I can't. I literally cannot get anything to move on my screen.
Hey, there you go. I'll zoom in. Let's see. There we go. Too much. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. All right. We're good.
And Maj, I mean, I imagine Maj in here 10-1. Maj, I think Maj is very interesting at 10-1 anyways. In Italian, Italian's going to run in the Philly Mare, right?
I think so. Yep.
That's to say, there's a lot of these kind of up in the air. You're not quite sure. Thoughts on, I guess, Songline. The Songline coming over is pretty cool.
I think it'd be cool. I think that horse will be tough just sitting here looking at it as it is right now, not knowing exactly who's going to be in or what. But yeah, I think Songline is a horse to be tough. I think Master of the Seas still is in here with a chance. Casa Creed, I think, is very interesting for one of ours. Up to the mark, if he runs here, you got to kind of like his chances as well. A horse like Kinross at 8-1, Maj at 10-1. I mean, I think you got to go pretty deep in here. I don't think, and again, this is just on the surface. This looks pretty damn tough to me.
I mean, I don't know a lot about Paddington, to be honest with you. That's one that I just don't know a ton about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to like get a good feel for it without, diving in. Casa Creed, I'd love to see Casa Creed win at 8-1.
Mm-hmm. I think Dennis asked which is the best U.S. horse in the Breeders' Cup Mile. In your thoughts, if Up to the Mark doesn't run in it, I think Casa Creed is.
I did see that song. I think, what is it? The Magic sent us. It was like the horses that are the possible Japan contingent is like Ushpicicero, Dermasotagaki, I don't know the turf, Shahar, Win Marlin, Songline, Win Carnelian, Jasper Crone, and there's like a handful of them in there. But I mean, you get Songline over, you get Ushpicicero, Derma. I don't know about Derma. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I mean, I feel like Japan, I've been saying it all along. It just feels like we're going to see a couple races that Japan's going to win out of the 14.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a good shot in a few for sure. And it'd be dumb to kind of ignore them because they win everywhere. So why wouldn't they be able to win here as well? Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see who actually shows up once it's here, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah. Do you think Inspiral will run over here in this race, if not the other one? I mean, is there any way that, if Warm Heart is for sure running there, is there any chance that we say, hey, we're gonna go the other direction?
I thought so. I thought we'd see Inspiral in this race here.
It might happen.
Yeah, and that if she's in this one, I like her a lot.
I mean, that would make everyone's our lives easier, right? If you like both of them,
separate them,
yeah, so I don't have to play them both.
Yep.
Yeah, Paddington's not coming over.
Yeah,
like running the QE2 this weekend, but yeah. Let's move on to the Distaff. Egomatic. Yep. Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is a race, and just like the Distaff as well, really. I mean, the Classic as well. It's a race that you typically see Class win, and this has been a division this year that Class has been pretty sketchy. Idiomatic is the now class, right? At plus 250, but Nest is. I mean, I don't. You can bet Nest. I don't know. Nest's not running that.
No.
Adair Manor at plus 500, randomized at plus 800. Pretty mischievous at 10-1. Clariere at 12-1. Search results. Wet Paint 14-1. I mean, the list goes on, right? We've been hearing about these horses all year. To me, at 12-1, Clariere is very interesting. And I'm not like, again, you have cashed on her. I've been burnt by her, but from a class standpoint, she's right up there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be between. I'm not playing Idiomatic as a favorite. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll put her on like a pick 4, pick 5 ticket. I'm not going to play her to win, I guess I should say. I think Randomize is really interesting. I think that horse is very interesting at a price. I think Adari Manor she's got the home field advantage. She could be a little bit interesting in this spot as well. But I'm going to try to beat Idiomatic. Randomize makes a little sense to me as of now.
Yeah. I don't know. Idiomatic, man. That's just one of those that I kind of feel like, I picked her thankfully last time, but it's like, can she win this race? I mean, sure, I guess, right? I mean, Adair Manor is one like that I would feel pretty stupid getting beat by, but at the same time, I don't. It's like, again, like I said, like class wins this race, like nine times out of 10. I mean, yeah, you had that what was that Japanese horse a few years ago, Marche Lorraine or whatever. I mean, that happens, right? That can happen, but it feels like it's going to be one of those like 5 or 6 horses that we've mentioned, but it's been this way all year. There's been times where Clariere was easily the class. Nest, the class. Adair Manor, I mean, it always has that West Coast vibe, right? Idiomatic is the class now. Randomized for like half a second, you felt like might be, you know what I mean? It's just been all year long. So I don't know how you can, like, you just got to kind of pull the trigger with one and hope you get lucky here.
Well, I would argue that Randomize is just as classy as Idiomatic after the 2 straight wins she's had. So I think the class angle does work with Randomized, where like Nest, come on. I mean, even Clariere, like it's been, I don't know. Your kids probably weren't in school yet when Clariere last won a race.
The thing about Clariere is that's so frustrating is she has the class to win this race.
Yeah,
no doubt, right? Her winning this race would be zero shock, but could she also finish like 3rd or 4th, beating 5 or 6? Sure, no doubt. All of them could in this race. Idiomatic would be the one. To me, the Idiomatic, even I hate taking that prize, but I mean, as of lately, she's been the one you can count on the most.
Yeah, and maybe like I said, you get the entries in your hands. You're like, well, shit, she's just better, and you play her, But sitting here right now, I don't really want her as a favorite.
Pretty mischievous winning this race would be freaking hilarious, in my opinion. I just after the year and she's going, to one turn, and then she won the Oaks, and it's like then fast forward to the distaff, she wins the distaff, and you like she won at 10-1. I didn't use her, the Oaks winner. It's like, come on.
Yep.
Again, I'm not going to be too shocked really of the result of this race.
No, not at all. Let's go to the Breeders' Cup Turf.
Yeah, the turf. Again, we 9-1 up to the mark, which is wild. And I guess the reason is you got 4 other horses, international horses that are listed ahead of them. 3-1. I guess August Roden, Mustadi. I don't know how to, but I know that I've been researching that horse, and I know that horse. I don't know if that horse is coming, but I'm actually very interested in that horse if he does. Emily something 7-1, Anesto at 7-1, Bolshoi by LA at 12-1, Warlike Goddess at 12-1. Listen, to me, up to the mark. Let's just fast forward to the post time, and let's just pretend it's not going to happen. But let's pretend that this is the odds right before they get into the gate. I'm not betting up to the mark at 9-1. Like he's one of those weird situations where I feel like I want to see him bet, in order for me to feel confident in betting him. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
I mean, Up to the Mark for me is the play, unless these European horses just look tremendous. Just to be real honest, is like I can't really get past him. He's beaten a lot of these European horses. Now that Auguste Rodin or however that one looks pretty good to me, and I think that would be the one I would maybe like the most out of the European horses. But look, Up to the Mark's beaten a lot of really good ones. So if he's in it, I'm sure we won't get a report that he's doing well. But if he's in the race, he doesn't scratch, I think he'll run okay.
I mean, it is one of those races that far and away is an international race. It just is. But you have had instances where you have Americans that win, and of course, like Bricks and Mortar is one, and like kind of the probably the biggest one as far as American as of recently. And it's obviously he was just better, and maybe Up to the Mark is that horse, right? Especially since you don't have a Tarnaw or an Able or Found or whoever you want to list off. You don't have like those kind of international horses coming over for this race, so that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like I'm not. If you don't have those, and Up to the Mark has done what he's done, is doing what he's doing, it's hard not to pick him.
Yep, I agree. This one's all going to be about the internationals and who actually show up, and who do they get to ride them and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, as far as the American horse goes, you got to think Up to the Mark's got a big shot because he's been beating these international horses. So this is going to be another major challenge. These horses won't be easy to beat.
I really do think, though, it's going to be between if it is this Augustine Rodin, if that's the kind of the international horse, right? That's the one I'm going to focus on versus Up to the Mark, because I do think it's going to be kind of that's the way I'm going to at least approach it. So, all right, let's go to the Classic. Obviously, the kind of a big race here. The big Classic, the main event, which sounds really technically the main event. You got two races after it at the Breeders' Cup on Saturday, but officially it is the main event of the Breeders' Cup. Arcangelo is your favorite here at plus 350. Arabian Night at 600. Go Rocket Ride 650. White Barrio 7-1. Ushba Tesoro. I mean, I've heard that horse's name more and more as we've gotten closer at 8-1. Bright Future 10-1. Saudi Crown is confirmed as going towards the Classic here at 12-1. Mage at 14-1. Proxy at 14-1. Derma, if he shows up, at 20-1. But listen, that's really the field. I guess Senior Bruce. I don't think Senior Bruce is going to run in there. Zandon 20-1. I'm trying to think if any. I guess Defunded at 25-1. Practical Move 25-1. Clapton, I think, is going to run in that race.
He's going to run in it.
Is 50-1. I don't think Rattle rolls off for the year. But there's the field. So, or at least the horses that are available to bet. I don't know, man. I mean, Arcangelo at 3.5-1 is tough. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think he should be the favorite, but I don't know that I'm going to be playing him at that price.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I can play him at 7-2, which is basically what that is.
Yeah.
If we get to post time and the odds are like this, I think Arabian Night makes a ton of sense at 6-1. I think White Barrio, honestly, if White Barrio 7-1, it's almost worth it.
Yeah.
Because the one thing you can say about White Barrio, if he runs like he did in the Whitney, he's a no doubt winner. And you can't point to another race that one of these horses have run and say that about them, right? Like you could say, hey, if Arcangelo runs like he did in the Travers, he's got a good chance. And that's a true statement. But he's not an absolute lock to win, even if he runs like he did in the Travers. White Barrio runs like he did in the Whitney, he'll win the race. And he's 7-8-1. So
I know. I mean, and I'll be honest, like I totally have not decided what I'm gonna do with White Barrio yet, but I was, I think I would sleep better at night knowing that I picked him and lost than I left him off everything and he beat me.
Yeah.
Just because, like, it's like, 'cause then you go back and you'd be like, really? Like, I was there. I literally saw with my own eyes what he did in the Whitney. I get it. Trust me. You don't have to tell me. I get it. Like, it's wide Barrio. Like, you don't want to like that horse, or like that he could think that he could win. But if he were to you said it, right? If he runs that race, he's winning.
Here's what he reminds me of. See if you agree with this. Remember when we were at the Florida Derby and Maximum Security just dusted that field? And we were like, what? That'll never happen again. Such a BS situation. And then he came back and he didn't end up getting paid if you bet Maximum Security, but he kind of dusted the Kentucky Derby field.
Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of what it feels like with White Barrio. You look at it and you go, that's just not going to happen again. Like that was just, you speculate on why it happened, blah, blah, blah. But then you get to the big ones, like he won't do that again. And then what if he does? That's kind of the thing that worries me with him, because he does have that race where it's like, oh boy, you can't beat him if he runs that type of race. He's got a really nice running style for Santa Anita. So I mean, again, I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to bet White Barrio on Breeders' Cup Day, but he does possess a race that none of these other ones have run yet.
Okay, so for one, I'll talk about Saudi Crown, I guess, because I was hoping they'd really run him in the dirt mile, but he's not. He's going to run in this race. I mean, 12-1, I guess, is fair on him. If you can get 12-1, I don't necessarily hate it, but I'm gonna let him beat me. I don't know that I'll have anything of him in this race. I like the horse. I mean, maybe underneath, I don't know though. I just kind of feel like he creates a little bit of a situation because he's got a lot of speed in this race, and he's going to make it interesting for the Go Rocket Rides and the Arabian Nights and horses that do show a little bit of speed early on. I just White Barrio even, so I mean, it's like, I don't know. He creates an issue because he's fast. He's legit fast.
I agree. I have no rebuttal. I agree with everything you said. Yeah.
I just, how would you be more surprised if he won or White Barrio?
Him, I think, but it's close. Like, yeah. I guess it's hard. I guess I'm kind of being wishy-washy because really nothing's going to surprise me in this race. Like, I'm sitting here, I've sat here, I did like a classic video and I said, yeah, I mean, Zandon can win. And that's like a running joke between us and Jesse up at Saratoga. We always give him shit because he picks Zandon. But here we are at this classic and it's like, well, he might win. Like, that's not terrible.
Yeah, he could, right? I mean, So Ushpachacero, that's been my pick on here for the last couple of weeks, and the word's out on him, and it's kind of annoying, honestly, as someone that was hoping you'd get like 10-15-1. That's a pipe dream. You're not going to get that on him now. I mean, I think he's going to be like 4 or 5-1 at this point. He's the it horse that he obviously won the Dubai World Cup, so he's you have that, but it's like he's that kind of new shooter that everybody's excited about. And by the way, he's a Japanese horse.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it months ago. Well, probably been a month ago, and you were on him, and I think he was like 20 or 30-1. And I kind of, and you agreed, alluded to the fact that, yeah, once they actually see this horse, hear about this horse, get the past performance in their hands, and look at the horse, he's going to be below 10-1. And here he sits at 8-1. And look, we'll see, right? I mean, he may get down lower than that even because look, I mean, people know about the Japan situation and these big time events, and people are going to gravitate to how good he looks on film. I mean, his on film's an old word there, but on YouTube, basically, where you look at his races and you go, he looks like he's pretty darn good. I mean, there's in most years I would say, oh, don't do that. But this year it's like, yeah, I get it. And I think Ushpachacero, has won on the international stage before, and I think that'll go a long ways. And he didn't beat a ton of good horses there in Dubai, but it was emphatically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And honestly, I got Magic texting me because he knows I like the horse and how he's liking the horse, and I'm like, shit, man, everyone's likes this horse now, and I just like all kidding aside, like from a real betting standpoint, I love what I've seen. You know, if you go back and watch the Dubai World Cup, you know he was. I mean, it was a trip, man. Like he had to get going. Like he was well out of it. Then you go back and watch this prep race for the Japan race. He was a lot closer and a lot more kind of tactical, and then made a move, and then just kind of went by them all late. He just feels like a horse that can win at kind of any particular style, and I've been saying it, that Japan's going to win one of these, and it's going to be soon. And it'd be hard. It's hard for me to sit here and be like, okay, we have a group of horses that over here that aren't awesome. You know, we don't have Flightline, we don't have, Pharaoh, or the list goes on. And then we also have the Dubai World Cup winner, who is a Japan horse, and he's running in this race. It just feels like it's shaping up a little bit for that to happen.
I agree, and I think it's more of just a situation where we just don't have the horses that people are going to be extremely excited to bet. I mean, even on Arcangelo, people that follow racing, they've seen it. They know. They've seen a 3-year-old that is good enough to win this race, and they've seen Arcangelo this year, and it's like he's really good, but it doesn't just scream that, hey, I want to bet him in the Classic. It screams that, hey, he deserves it. He's done really well. I think he's a favorite we can beat.
Now listen, Rodney, I know you're just giving a shit, but it's you're gonna get a price. I mean, it's not like you're not gonna get 10-1 on Ushba, but I think you're gonna get a playable price because you do have the Travers winner. I mean, these 3-year-olds are sexy to a lot of people. You got Arabian Night, who obviously Bob Baffert. Guess what? We've seen a bunch of 3-year-olds win this race before, and they were all trained by Bob Baffert. If he can do it, he can do it with Arabian Night. He did it with Bayern. Go Rocket Ride. I mean, obviously, he has a lot of people like him. I think he's a fun horse to bet. Guida Barrio, we know how that, So it's like you got Saudi Crown for Brad Cox. You got Bright Future for Todd Pletcher. Mage, you got the Derby winner. I mean, I don't imagine he's going to take a ton of money, but he will take some. So the point is, you're going to get, I mean, there's too many options in this race for Ushba to be for you to lose complete value in him, I think.
Yep. I agree with that. I don't think he's, some people are saying like 5-1. I don't know. I don't think it'll be that low, but I think you're not going to get 10-1.
I can't play him at 5-1. Let's put it that way.
He could be a victim of there just wasn't a strong enough horse to bet, and so people had to gravitate to him. And then all of a sudden, and whether he wins or loses, that has no impact as like what odds he are. But you may get to where you're there, and it's like, damn it, I can't bet him at 5-1.
Now, Kevin, I do want to suggest a theory. Now, I don't know. I have not proven this theory, so maybe we can test it in the coming weeks. With when you and I and Magic also likes a horse. Maybe Magic cancels out our negative, issue whenever we both like the same horse. Maybe with Magic adding to that, maybe we can still get that horse home. I don't know. Just a thought. Yep. We can test. I don't know if we got a horse we can test, or maybe earlier in the card as well. Yep. But no, I really do. I don't. I see Mage being ignored. He should be ignored. I mean, he's been really bad lately. His Travers, by the way, was one of the worst all-time performances from a Derby winner after the Derby. I mean, it was so bad. And this is coming from somebody who saw Mind That Bird run the Breeders' Cup for D. Wayne.
You talk about a horse that ran a race of his life, and all of his other races have pretty much been the same. It's Mage. And that day at the Kentucky Derby, that was a completely different horse than any other start he's ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. He was out of this world. he ran incredible. And he had to pass a horse late that really wasn't stopping in 2 fills, and he did it anyway. I don't know how he did it. I don't know where it came from. He'll never do it again. And I think we're 1 race away from never seeing him again.
And you and I have talked about that, and we may have talked about it on the show too. I know we've talked about it a ton together, and it's just like I feel like what happened was with Mage is that he did run this race of a lifetime for him, and it's happened sometimes, right, with the rich strikes, and like horses that kind of defy logic and win a race like that. Then the expectation comes they're going to do that every time, but in reality, they're just not that great of a horse. They just had this huge race, and now we expect him to win the Travers. We expect him to win this and that, the Classic and all these things. Like, well, in reality, he's like the poor man's version of Zandon. He just happened to win the freaking Kentucky Derby. Yep. And I know that's probably not fair to say because he did win the Derby, and I do credit that. But I just think the expectations get higher with a horse like that, and then they don't have the talent to back it up. It just happened that one time.
I think the thing that makes me the most upset looking back at that Derby was when he lost the Florida Derby, right? And by the way, I thought he ran fantastic in the Florida Derby. Okay. But when you're clear and you're nearing the wire and a horse comes and gets you like that, I mean, you look at it and go, okay, he is who I absolutely know he is. Hard trying, really good horse. Love to have him. Respect the hell out of him. He can't win a race like the Derby. He just can't. And he goes and he does it. And then his races after are the same. Preakness. He got beat by 2 of the worst runners to run 1-2 in the Preakness ever. Haskell, he ran really, really well. He just couldn't beat a good horse, right? Yeah. I mean, Travers, he didn't try, whatever. But that's the frustrating thing about the game. He is exactly who I thought he was going into the Derby. He just ran just a monster race that day.
And the best part about it is like if you liked Mage, Somich picked Mage, and all the credit goes. I mean, he picked the winner. But if you liked Mage, it wasn't because you thought, okay, he's going to be outbroken by Tabit Tries. He's going to be towards the back of the pack. He's going to have to circle the field. He's going to have to weave in and out. You know what I mean? Like you're betting him, you're picking him to win the Derby because you think he's going to break well. He's going to get in good position. I think he's got more tactical speed than he should, whatever. You know what I mean? Like you're picking him for that reason. You're not picking him to go from last to first and pass 19 other horses in the Kentucky Derby. So that's the other wild part to it. It's not like, it's just that part is just baffling. And then you go watch him in the Preakness and you're like, oh man, really? That's the same horse. So yeah, I don't know. I'll let him beat me in the well, I've let him beat me in any race since then. So it's it's awesome that he won. It was a great story, and it was an incredible run. Like he ran his ass off. I don't know how he did it.
Honestly, and I may be overrating it a bit, but I thought it was one of the better derbies I had seen. Since I had followed the sport, the effort. I thought it was like, God, like that was I don't know how he just did that. He was a monster in that race,
Yeah.
And then, whatever.
Especially considering how good 2 Fields ran, and you're just like, oh man. Like
I know. And again, he just ran a monster and he just hasn't been able to he couldn't really do it before and he couldn't really do it after. So it's just one of those things, and that's impossible to know when that's going to happen.
All right, we didn't really do it in the opening, but now that we have the odds up here, I'll put gun to your head. Who you picking? These are the odds you can lock in. Who you got?
White Barrio.
2 is right. Ushpa Tesoro at 8-1. So 8-1 and 7-1 are our picks currently for the Breeders' Cup Longines Classic. Of course, pre-entries come out next week. Entries to follow the week after. More analyzing, more handicapping coming your way. But there's a look at the Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday futures odds.
All right. Jack says, what will the post-time odds be on Up to the Mark on race day? Jack, I think it really depends on the European horses that actually come over. So I would speculate if you get a couple of the higher, hyped ones, anywhere from 5 to 6 to 1, probably on Up to the Mark. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's so dictated by the European horses. It just
Yep.
if like I said, if we get word of a really good one, or if the Augustin Rodin takes a lot of hype, and then he becomes not as. I do think it's interesting though that when I was looking over I don't have it in front of me, is when Bricks and Mortar won, he was pounded. He was like, I want to say below 2-1. Like bet hard. And if we see something like that from up to the mark, that tells you a few things. One, that he's the real deal, and two, that the Euros aren't advertised very well, and so that kind of gives you all the more reason, to me, in my opinion, to press on up to the mark.
Yep, I agree.
Boy, the Turtles. Here, switch over to the other blinkers off background, or whatever. My computer, by the way, is completely. It's weird. It's like it's locked up. I can literally click on nothing on my screen, but I'm still on here, and so I don't know how that's possible. And so I told Halterman, I was like, "Hey, just take over." But anyways, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and, of course, our premium selections on our handicap products page. Make sure you go get the betting Bible for the Breeders' Cup. It's available right now at racingdudes.com. The 14 trends to the Breeders' Cup is available as well. You can get both of those included for one low price, or you can get them for free if you are a premium subscriber. The 14 trends will be out, obviously, before the betting Bible comes out. I'm hoping to have the 14 trends out by tomorrow. That's Friday, October 20th. So hopefully we can get those out tomorrow. It's a nice look at every race on the 2 days at the Breeders' Cup in a trend that's kind of been potent or maybe go against or whatever. I kind of lay out different ideas, and then you kind of use that to make your bets. But it's a really cool way to start off your handicapping. So make sure you go check that out at racingdudes.com. I've seen a lot of asking. So the turtles are done. We've been disbanded. What's the word? I had it earlier and I forgot it. Relegated. We've been relegated from the league after this one. This was so we had our game on, what day was that? Halterman, was it Monday or Tuesday? Monday. We had a game Monday. Final game. So worst loss of the year. So got smoked 6-0. It was very clear that the kids were done, as well as the coach. And so we got relegated from the league, and I immediately offered my resignation. So
there you go. Are you dating the Raptors coach or no?
Well, now the league is over, I can accept the friend request now, right?
No. I wouldn't do it if I were you. She looked pretty scary. I would honestly. I wouldn't do it.
No, it was funny. I had like a lot of kids afterwards come up to me after the game with their parents and like, "Are you coaching spring?" Like they want to spring ball. They want to be on the team again. I'm like, yeah, call me. But certain ones, I'm like, yeah, I am, and the other ones, I'm like, yeah, I don't know yet. We'll see. It was rough.
Yeah. She's the enemy. She's the enemy. So
history would show you, Kevin, that is my MO. But I'm trying to shake that. Okay.
Yeah, that's
very accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
This is why I'm not dating Kevin, because I'm trying to shake the issues. I told everybody though, whenever I'm like, hey, anytime I ever like find like if I'm dating somebody that I'm serious about, she has to be vetted, and there's like a zero. I have a zero, like I have like a no trade clause. I don't have that. Like they literally, I have no say in it. If someone says no, it's a no go, I'm like, she's out. So
yeah.
Maybe we can have her on the show too, to be like the final vetting procedure.
I think that is, and we haven't even I haven't even met one of these people. So
let's be honest, we're not anywhere close to that happening. So.
No, I don't think it has been.
So forget about it.
I've known of one of them only because I knew her, when we were in high school. The other ones, I don't know who they've been. So
who was that one?
Well, I've known her. She didn't go to our high school, but the town over.
Oh yeah.
She had been in the sporting goods store and stuff. I knew who she was.
Yeah. Yeah, that one didn't pan out. So
No, it didn't. And I thought that was the one.
so did she. All right, guys. That's all the time we have today on Blinkers Off. The Magic
Well,
Mike Show did not air. What?
Sorry. We need to talk about Husker Butch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll do this part, and you can kind of catch your breath here. The
Okay.
Magic Mike Show will be on tomorrow, so stay tuned for the Magic Mike Show tomorrow. I believe they're doing some prop bets. They're looking at some different prop bets of the Breeders' Cup and Matt maybe head-to-head type stuff. And I know Magic's got some stuff lined up for that, so stay tuned tomorrow for the Magic Mike Show. Husker Butch, Halterman, give us the update on old Husker. What's he up to, and when's he running next?
Yeah, he's going to run tomorrow being Friday. So we'll see him Friday. Race 4 at Keeneland on Friday. Should be a lot of fun. Starter allowance. We'll see what happens. Field of 7. He's 6-1 on the morning line. He drew post 7. So like the post, I don't think he's good enough to win a starter allowance at Keeneland, but I don't think he'll get embarrassed. So I think Husker Butch will be decent tomorrow. That's my prediction. So the goal is to run him there, and it's kind of the measuring stick. If he runs poor, we'll probably drop him for a tag and run him at Churchill next. And I mean, if he runs really well, we'll probably just keep him at that level and get him to Oaklawn.
If he runs really well, I expect him to run the Breeders' Cup. Maybe not in the race, but like an undercard race. That's
right. Yeah. Well, listen, if it was out at Churchill this year, we'd do it.
Yeah. Rodney is singling them, so there you go.
Well, I didn't tell you to do that. So.
By the way, I gotta say, like, since I don't know when that was, because a couple of weeks ago when we brought up this and we got to talking about the Racing Dude stable, like we've had a ton of people email us about being a part of any potential Racing Dude stable that we've talked about putting together over the years. So if you go to our website, it's racingdudes.com, and see on the main menu there under horses, there is a ownership, or I can't remember what I've labeled it as. But you can just go up and sign up, and we'll get an email. And once if and when we kind of pull the trigger on that, we'll let everyone, email, send us your email. We'll email you guys. But dude, I mean, it's getting me a little excited. I think we have more than enough. Let's put it that way, to own at least one, maybe multiples, and keep it at a very low percentage.
I don't know about that, but I think we are building a bunch of people. A lot of those came from like 2015. Some of them may be dead by now. I don't know.
I mean, how much does it cost to own a Husker Butch?
Well, I mean, you're talking about it. It costs $2,000 to $2,500 a month to train him, and that's with anybody you use, and that's on the low end now. And you're talking about, if you're going to get one that's decent, $10,000 to claim one.
Yeah.
So you think about that. I don't know that you really need to get this started for all seriousness to where people don't have to pay in every month. You need to raise, if you're going to claim one for 10, you better have 30 or 40 in the bank before you go out and do it. So
yeah. But yes, is it. You have to have enough to start with.
Yeah.
You can't just, go in and hope you have the emails or hope you have the people that want to do it. It's like, and that's just it. Like, you have a lot of people that might be interested, and then they find out it costs more than $3, and then they're not interested. So
I mean, and the simple fact of it is, it's a very expensive to have a horse. It really is, and not to say we're not going to do it or we can't do it, but that's a lot of money you were going to have to raise, and when you the one thing you don't want to do is ask somebody for X amount, they buy in, and then you run out of money in 2 months, and the trainer's knocking on your door saying, "Hey, we need money to train the horse, and we don't have any of it left." And then what do you do? So you gotta be a little bit more on the conservative side, so you don't get caught with zero money in your account, and you just have to give the horse away or something. That would be brutal.
Yeah, Kevin, just wait till you find out that I'm like, wait till you see the email and the website I designed where it's like, guaranteed profits. This horse will run in the Kentucky Derby next year. Sign up now. Kevin, I'm gonna bait you in. I'm gonna get as much money as I can Cohen needs to go to school. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's with Husker Butch, I don't own that much of a percentage of him, but I had to buy into him, have to pay every month to train him, and it's not cheap, even for a smaller percentage of a horse, it's not. So, but it would be great. I'm going to talk to Kelly about it. I've talked to Jake about it, so I think we could do it, but. I just say I don't know that we're quite there yet financially.
I'm gonna do like a video, where it's like, like the sad music going, like for only $3 a day, you can also own a once in a lifetime race for it. Kevin will be he'll be just giving us money at that point. He'll be so excited. But no, I mean, it would be fun to do it, and especially even if we kept it small. I know you can vouch for it because 98% of your races are ran at very small tracks and not big purses, but it's just fun to own a horse and see the horse coming home and having a say in like what like that you're there and that you own a horse. I mean, I think to me that's worth a lot more than. I mean, yeah, sure, winning the Derby would be amazing, but just the idea of winning, a lot of people don't have that feeling.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of just lay out how this thing goes. So we bought into 2 horses, Husker Butch and Double Numbers. Okay. And we paid 7,500 for each of them. So 15,000 total. Right. And also, $2,000 a month, let's say, to train both of them. Double Numbers never beat any horse, ran twice, and we gave him away basically. Right. Yeah. So it can go that way. If you've got one and he's double numbers, you're going to lose a shit ton of money. Or you could do the Husker Butch situation. He's made $51,000 in purse earnings this year, right? So you see both sides of it. So if you buy a Husker Butch, you're great. Everything's fun. You get a double numbers, you're going to lose money. So that's the other thing. You gotta be okay with the fact that it could go either way. And guys, the funniest thing about it, you asked the trainer before they ran. He thought double numbers was going to be really good. And he was just like, Butch is who he is. He's not terrible, but I don't think he's great.
And now
I'll look at it. So
kind of like
crapshoot.
Kind of like saying up to the mark, can't walk and he wins a great
exactly.
one.
Exactly.
Just never know. But again, you make sure you go to the website and sign up if you are interested. Again, Magic Mike Show, all the places you listen to podcasts, we're there, as well as the Magic Mike Show tomorrow, Apple Podcasts, Google. Make sure you go to YouTube, man. If you're watching us now live on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because we have a ton of YouTube or Breeders' Cup content headed your way, as well as race previews for really anything going on, any major race. We've got it on the website at racingdudes.com. Replays with Magic commentating is awesome. It's pretty entertaining. So if you want to watch that, make sure you go to our YouTube page and subscribe. But again, this is a great time to be doing that with the Breeders' Cup just a few weeks away. All right, guys. Halterman, you're going to have to close us out as far as the video and to get us all out of here. But any final thoughts?
Go Husker Butch on Friday. It's hopefully he gets the job done, runs at least decent, and hopefully OU feels like we haven't played in 2 months. We play Saturday, so hopefully we'll get back to business there. Yeah, so that's all I got. Hopefully Butch runs well and OU wins another one this weekend.
Okay, yeah, OU's on a roll, man. Looking pretty good. Big win 2 weeks ago, and go Chiefs, right? I think I add that. So. Yep. Big game this weekend against the Chargers, and we follow up with another game against Denver, and then the schedule gets really fun. So with the Dolphins and man, that week 9, man, I've had that one circled. That's the day after the Breeders' Cup too. That's gonna be and in Germany, so it's gonna be a situation, but we'll get it. Oh, thanks, Shotty, appreciate it.
I got a question for you. Do you find the NFL boring this year?
Somewhat. Not maybe. I don't really, because I love the NFL, and I'm like, you probably don't feel college football is boring at all, and I kind of do, but it's just how. But it is more boring than it has been. Let's put it that way. One, I feel like the officiating's been awful and very like ticky tack and like making it last forever, and and 2, there's been some. The play has been really bad.
It's been
in some of
awful.
these games.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad. So I think that that is the talent level is not as high this year for some reason.
I love watching the NFL. I actually like to watch NFL better than college because I don't have a vested interest. I just watch it for the love of watching football. I hate the NFL this year. I am bored to tears watching these games. I
Yeah.
think they've been awful.
I don't know. Like even like you look at the Chiefs, like offensively, they're
Chiefs suck to watch from
Yeah,
somebody who's not a fan.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't feel that, but yeah,
Right.
I mean, I understand because when you win a game like 19-8, it's like, yay, that was fun.
And now don't get me wrong, I've seen like a few good games. I'm not saying that every game's been awful, but for the most part they've been bad. You were texting me during the Denver game last week. I got to be honest, I turned it off. I'm like, I don't need to be watching this. I don't care who wins. Why am I? This is horrible. Like it's not good football. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's the only team that's been fun to watch this year, I think, is the Dolphins.
I agree.
Because they're electric, like their offense is electric, and so there's a lot of action, and they just constantly move the ball. But yeah, for the most part, like you look at, I mean, that dude, yeah, the Jets game, man, the Jets Philly game was like watching paint dry.
Awful,
especially the end of it, right? When you're just like, I have to watch this because I got to see if Philly loses, but this is awful, awful. And so
the Buffalo and the Giants.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say that one. Yeah,
awful.
you're just like, how somebody please win this game. It felt like it felt like a game that like no one wanted to win. Yeah. Josh Allen sucks, by the way. Like
he's not good.
He's so overrated.
We've overrated him. He's not any good. I mean. And maybe that's it. Like the Bengals, every time I watch the Bengals, I want to throw up. They're so boring. I mean, make me sick. But I don't know. And again, that's not an NFL versus college hate. I love all football. And I a lot of times I'll enjoy Sundays more because I don't really care. I just like to watch it, but I just haven't. You watch that red zone and it's like, this is boring this year,
It really, yeah. And on top of that, we've had a lot of injuries. I feel like a lot of, so it's just, you're just like, I don't know, watching, these random dudes. Sometimes it feels like you're watching Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Who would ever thought you're watching Tyrod Taylor? I mean, there's guys in our waivers, like quarterbacks. I'll be like, I did not know that he was on an NFL team, and he's starting this game.
Right. Yeah.
PJ Walker beat the freaking 49ers.
Yeah. I know.
Try to digest that one. He beat the 49ers.
PJ Walker, before this Brock Purdy madness, I would take PJ Walker over Brock Purdy. And I think finally it's like, okay, maybe he's coming down to earth. I don't know. I've just been shocked at what he's done with the Niners. So I don't know. Maybe this is the start of him kind of coming down to earth. I don't know.
Wow, Kevin, I would love to hear that story. So it sounds like a fun one.
Well, you had to go to the Giants-Bills game. That's strike one. God,
dude. By the way, not that it matters because but Giants totally should have won that game.
Totally.
One, they completely fucked up the end of the first half. That was hilarious. Mm-hmm. And then 2, I mean, who knows? They probably wouldn't have got in the second try either. But it was PI. I mean, it was definitely PI. It was PI. It was more PI that play than it was the one they called before that. I thought.
Yeah.
I thought Waller sold it a little bit on that first one.
Yep.
The second one was legit, and they didn't get it called. So it's just.
Mark, go to your video and scroll back to the very start of the show. We talked about the Breeders' Cup for an hour and 40 minutes. So you've caught on the very last part of the show. Take your mouse cursor. Click the video and scroll to the very first, and you'll have an hour and 40 minutes of fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you see the thing, it says an hour and 49 minutes live. Yeah. Like, anyways.
Yeah. And so we're doing a live show. So if we're trying to end the show,
what we like to do is we like to label our videos Breeders' Cup and Derby and things that are exciting. And then we
Right.
like to get on here and talk about Chiefs, the Turtles,
Yeah.
and OU football.
Right. Yeah. For the last 5 minutes of the show, like we've done for 6 years. So just go back. We got a whole lot.
Whole lot. Every race we talk about, all but one.
Me too. I had to work all day. So what I'm going to do now that I'm on here, I'm going to scroll back and I'll listen to it again.
Again,
I had to work all day too, man. All day long.
At least you don't have
I got up at 5.
I have to listen to the whole show again and edit it and then post it. So
yeah, exactly.
Could be worse. I still have to listen to this again. So
yeah.
All right, let's get out of here, guys. Until next time. Again, next week pre-entry's out on Wednesday, so stay tuned. I'm sure we'll have an announcement and have all that shit out there on the website at Racing Dudes. Then once that gets out, the next weekend. We're in the final stages of the Breeders' Cup. The Halterman and I, the team, will be at the Breeders' Cup in 2 weeks. So if you're going to be there, make sure you hit us up. Until next time, guys, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.